I know I got to be better. And for me, as a player, like I said, man, I pride myself on my process and the way that I go about things. And there's some things that I got to do better. I mean, it's flat out. And it's in terms of my play on the field. I felt like I said, we had a great week of practice. Preparation was there. Guys were dialed in. You saw how Ashton ran the ball today. You saw how the line played today. You saw how our guys were getting open and how our defense played inspired. How our crowd was electric throughout the game. And if you look at the difference in the game, it was the turnovers. So I mean, simply put, I got to be better.
And that was a very frustrated, very angry, very disappointed Geno Smith, Raiders quarterback, after what can only really be described as a gut-wrenching, kind of a heartbreaking, demoralizing almost 25-24 loss to a highly beatable team in the Chicago Bears in a highly winnable game for the Raiders. But you can't turn it over 4 times and you can't throw 3 interceptions. It's a second straight home game, and there's only been 2. That Geno Smith did that, so he's got 6 interceptions here at Allegiant Stadium. Before we get into all of that, I just want to remind everybody, or tell everybody, I am Vinny Bonsignore. I cover the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Vegas Nation. To my right is my good friend and colleague Adam Hill, who also covers the Raiders and everything else in Las Vegas for the Review-Journal and Vegas Nation. And we are here at Allegiant Stadium, where just a few hours ago, the Raiders lost, like I just said, to the Chicago Bears. And this is Vegas Nation First and 10. We're going to bring you our normal post-game episode of Vegas Nation First and 10. I don't even have words to describe exactly what happened out there today, that it even came down to a last-second game-winning field goal, despite being -3 on the turnovers, 3 interceptions, and a fumble was kind of miraculous in its own right. But in what's become sort of a trait for the Raiders this year, they weren't even able to take advantage of that golden opportunity. The field goal by Daniel Carlson in the closing seconds gets blocked, and we'll get into that. So just really a demoralizing loss for the Raiders. But as Geno said, this is squarely, it's not only on him, but it's decidedly squarely on Geno Smith. You just can't throw 3 interceptions like that.
Yeah, he put them in a terrible position. There's no question about that. But the Raiders did a lot of things, as bad as they played, they did a lot of things well.
Yeah, it's such a dichotomy.
He kept turning the ball over. Obviously, They also had the Ashton Jeanty fumble, which was on a 4th down anyway, so it wasn't going to turn anything. But they did lose some yardage on that play, and field position wise. So all of that happened, and the Raiders' defense kept them in the game.
Yep.
And then the offense clicked enough, especially with Ashton Jeanty making some big plays. Offense clicked enough to put them in a position to win. So as many turnovers as there were, the Raiders looked like a better team for the most part, and so they had a chance to win. It's a tough game to kind of describe because
probably their best game of the year.
They played very well in general.
Yeah,
the turnovers destroyed them, and the Bears were so bad that the Raiders had a chance to potentially win the game for basically all the way until the end. They had the lead all the way. The Bears put together one drive to take the lead, and then the Raiders come back, have a chance to kick a field goal to win, and then that doesn't go well because of a couple of things execution-wise and just little things that went wrong. I mean, you can nitpick plays here and there and just say if this changed. One big one, they have a 3rd and 2 where they can get a first down, run the clock all the way down, have a shorter field goal potentially to win the game, because this one was the go-ahead. The Bears still could have come down and scored the other way. It wasn't a game-winning field goal per se, but they had a chance to go
force
ahead
them
with
to
the
use
field
their
goal.
timeout.
But if they would have got a first down, they could have run the clock down, forced them to use their timeouts. It's 3rd and 2. Colton Miller actually gets hurt on the previous play.
Yeah.
So you've got no Colton Miller. You try to run the ball on 3rd and 2. Kind of because I think it could be argued you probably don't trust the fact that Geno Smith isn't going to turn the ball over
at that
throws.
point. No doubt.
So you try to run the ball. Stone Forsythe is in for Colton Miller. That play gets blown up. Not that it wouldn't have if Colton Miller was in. But
that was the field goal that made it 21-19, right?
No, that's at the very end.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
correct.
So they could have picked up a first down there. Could have run
the drive. Yes, we'll get into the drive
you're
before
talking
that.
about the Dante Thornton drop potentially, and a bad throw, and still a catchable ball that was dropped. But a 3rd down, if they get the first down, everything becomes so much easier for the Raiders at the end. They can't pick up that first down, and you could say maybe they would have if Colton Miller's in the game, but he's not.
Or maybe they would have if they trust Geno Smith.
Sure,
but they don't.
They don't get the first down. They kick the field goal. It's blocked. The game is over at that point. but how much different are things if Colton Miller's not hurt on that play? So, I mean, like, there's
Yeah.
all these little things to look at. It potentially could have been different because it was the left side of the line that they tried to run behind. Colton Miller's not there. Stone Forsythe, not necessarily that it's his fault, but doesn't look like he's on the same page as the rest of the offensive line.
Right.
And then, and it's his only snap of the game, so you don't. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough ask to go in on this hugely important play and try to run behind him. And
Right.
just all these little things that potentially led to losing. But the bottom line is, the Raiders once again found a way to lose, and they're 1-3, and that is just what they are. I mean, that they're a 1-3 team. I think there's little places here and there you could say they played better than that, but for the most part, they just haven't been good enough. They've made key mistakes all over the place. They are a 1-3 team because they've earned their way to 1-3.
No doubt about it. And I think Max Crosby kind of summed it up. We got to find ways to not make it so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And, you could basically put that on repeat since the Raiders have gotten
Yeah.
here to Las Vegas for the most part.
New coaches, new front office, new quarterbacks, new player. I mean, everything's new, but everything's the same.
It's a broken record at this point, and it's tough. And I'm going to say something that might be controversial to Raider fans right now. I know they're feeling it and in their feelings, and a lot of their anger is being pointed toward Geno Smith, and kind of rightfully so after he played a game like he did today. But I actually think that he's going to dig himself out of this. I just refuse to believe that he's going to continue to do the things that he's been doing in the 2 home games here. I can't explain it. It's so crazy because his indoor-outdoor splits.
Yeah, traditionally, he's been very good indoors and pretty questionable outdoors, and now all of a sudden he can't play indoors here with the Raiders.
Now, I'll also say this. Last week we were in Washington. He was under constant duress, 5 sacks. The heat was on him the entire game, and he plays a really good game and doesn't throw an interception. Today, there were no sacks, and yes, there was pressure on him, but not unusually so.
Yeah.
He had clean pockets, and he throws 3 interceptions, and they were just as Pete Carroll told us afterwards. The first 2, they just fell right into the Bears' hands. They knew what they were seeing on film. They knew it was coming, and they fell for it still.
Yeah.
And that cost them two interceptions. The third interception, I think, was probably his worst throw and worst read. And then besides the 3rd and 2 that they don't get, and that's not Geno's fault necessarily, although maybe they call a different play if he's having a better game, the 3rd down play from the 11-yard line up 24-19 with a chance to score a touchdown.
Up 21-19.
21-19, my bad. It ended up being 24-19 because, they're up 21-19. And if you score a touchdown, now you're up 28-19 and
9 points.
Up 9 points, so it's 2 scores, and not a whole lot of time for the Bears who were struggling, by the way, throughout the game to mount any big time drives. They ended up getting one, but nevertheless, they would have needed 2, right? And so, but instead of he throws it short to Dante Thornton near the goal line. Dante should come up with it. It's a bad pass, no matter how you slice it.
It's on both sides. There was a huge window. There was really wasn't much pressure. There's a huge window to throw to, and the throw was down and away. Dante Thornton, I'm sure Dante Thornton will tell you he still should have caught it.
It was on his hands. You got to make the catch.
It was low. He had to go down for it, and that's a throw that needs to be. It needs to be thrown to where he can just walk into the end zone
without question.
Instead, it's low. So bad throw in what should have been a fairly easy throw for an NFL quarterback.
Yes.
And a receiver that probably should have caught it. We don't know if he would have got in if he did, but
even if he doesn't get in, this is what Adam and I were talking about earlier. Even if Dante doesn't get in, let's say somebody gets a hand on him before he rolls into the end zone untouched. Even if it's 4th down and 1 at the foot of the goal line, now you have, if you're the Raiders, you have a chance. You could decide. Look, do we want to go for it here, and get the. Make this the 9-point game that we want to make it, or just kick the field goal to go up. What they ended up doing. To go up
5.
To go up by 5.
But not completing the pass makes it. There's no decision.
There's no decision. Exactly. So because even if you don't make it at that point, you don't get the 1 yard to score the points. You've now left the Bears at the foot of their goal line. And now you got to go drive 99. Even it wouldn't have to be 99 because they have to just kick a field goal. But still, you have it's tough sliding when you're down there. But again, that's not even that opportunity is not even
It's a
available.
throw you have to make.
Exactly.
It's a catch you still probably should make, but
Right.
it's a throw you have to make.
Right.
And he didn't. And I think that's part of the issue is not just the interceptions, which the interceptions are obviously a huge problem. But you're not making the plays. Like if it was, hey, you're putting up all these numbers, you're airing it out all over the place. It's an aerial assault, and then every once in a while you're making a mistake. Okay, you can.
That's one thing.
It's still very difficult, but you can live with
Brett
it.
Favre-ish.
They're not. I mean, at one point he had 3 interceptions and 66 yards throwing. Like,
Yeah.
It's not like you're having all these big plays to go along with it. So Geno Smith certainly has to be better. That's at the top.
Yep.
A lot of guys have to be better for sure. The offensive line got a little something going today. I mean, I think the Bears' defense had a lot to do with that. But the offensive line got a little something going. They got Ashton Jeanty out in space a little bit.
Looked great.
155 total yards. Is that opponent, or is that just that they figured something out? We shall find out. Although, we'll see on Colton Miller's injury because sprained ankle it was referred to as after the game by Pete Carroll, but he was carted off. If he is out, like he was the one offensive lineman that was playing really well, that could put a big wrench into potentially building off of this performance by the offensive line, which I know is something that they wanted to do.
Yeah, and it's going back to Ashton Jeanty, without question, the Bears were susceptible to the run. They were giving up 5.5 yards per carry coming into the game. They were giving up the 7th most yards per game, like 139, the 7th most yards overall in the rushing game. That said, I think Ashton Jeanty, what he showed you was if you're winning the battles up front and giving him a little bit of room, which the Raiders haven't done up until tonight, he could do damage. Because once he gets into that second level, you see that. Now all of a sudden, when we were saying this, even against Washington, there were a couple of runs that were a hairline away from being a 50-yard run. And he just wasn't quite there yet. Tonight, when he got open space and was able to get to that second level, he made people pay a 64-yard touchdown run, which I'm going to just say this right now, it's one of more that he's going to have in his career, if not this year. He's that kind of a back, and it was kind of fun just to see him finally get on track tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think we said going into this game, if they didn't get it going against the Bears, now it's a major problem.
Right.
Like you have to. I know, one of the stats obviously about Ashton Jeanty, the shocking stat that everybody couldn't really believe, more yards after contact than total yards, which means he was getting contact in the backfield. The Bears were not contacting running backs at like a historically bad rate.
Yes.
By far the worst in the NFL. Right. Several yards downfield before any contact was made with running backs. Like this was a team you had, and by the way, also missing key defenders.
Yeah.
This is a team you had to get right against.
And they did. Yeah.
So like you take that for, hey, is it opponent? Is what was the reason? I think from the Raiders' perspective, you just ignore all that and say, hey, it had to happen and it did happen.
Exactly.
Good foundation to build off of. Although now, of course, the Colton Miller injury.
Yeah.
You say, are you really able to build off that if now Colton Miller is potentially, and we don't know, as we said, they said sprained ankle.
A formidable Colts team coming up, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. So, obviously some concern there for how that's going to play out. But if you're looking for positives, it is something to build off on the offensive line. And that was with, of course, Jackson Powers-Johnson back in the lineup. The offensive line, a work in progress, just like the stadium is behind us.
Right. They're tearing it down for something coming up.
I don't know if you see it behind us on the
video.
video.
What is coming up? All those.
I do not know. There's got to be a concert. Well, they're not going to be here for a couple weeks, so there's got to be something in the next next 2 weeks. So we'll find out.
We know UNLV's playing Air Force.
Yeah.
Right?
Something's
No, not Saturday. I don't know who it is.
Either way, something is happening at the stadium. If you're just listening to us and you're hearing the sound, that's what it is, the construction behind us.
Right.
If you're watching us on video, you might see some construction going on behind us. I'm not sure because we're not looking that way, but just as a heads up of that.
Tell you what was going on earlier over at the Wynn Club was the Chicago Bear fans who had rented that space out, having a pretty good time here at Allegiant Stadium. Hey, to the victors go the spoils, and they were definitely enjoying themselves. We're going to hear very quickly from Ashton Jeanty in just 1 second. But before we do, I want to remind everybody that you guys spoke loud and clear, and we heard it without as loud and clear as you said it. And you guys wanted great Raiders coverage, great Vegas Nation coverage at a reduced price. We are delivering for you. You can get 3 months of a digital subscription to Vegas Nation for 25 cents, 1 quarter for the next 3 months of a digital subscription to Vegas Nation. All you have to do is go to mylvrj.com/nation. and sign up for the next 3 months of Vegas Nation, a digital subscription to Vegas Nation for 25 cents. Go to mylvrj.com/nation for that great offer. And when we get back, we'll talk a little bit more about Ashton Jeanty. Here is Ashton. Hold on 1 second.
Confidence in yourself. You know, people aren't going to believe in you. You can't get your motivation from others. It's got to come within. And, you know, just always believe in yourself, no matter how things are going.
And that was Ashton Jeanty. Welcome back, by the way, to Vegas Nation, 1st and 10, your go-to for Raider news and analysis. We are at Allegiant Stadium, Adam Hill and I, Vinny Bonsignore, after a few hours after the Raiders dropped just a gut-wrenching loss, 25-24, to the very beatable Chicago Bears. Didn't happen. They're 1-3. Now they got to go to Indianapolis to play a very formidable Colts team that, if not for some bonehead plays by their wide receiver who lost a fumble in the end zone, tried to celebrate a little bit too soon, and was called for a penalty.
I don't think he was celebrating. I think he was trying to transfer to the outside hand. But yeah, it was definitely you can't.
You got to hold on to the ball.
You can't fumble
crossing
right at
the goal line.
I know. By the way, I know people hate that rule that if you fumble forward out of the end zone that it's a touchback. That absolutely is the rule. It should be the rule.
I don't know about that.
It definitely should. But yeah, that's what happened. So he fumbled just before he crossed the goal line. A huge play in that game. But yeah, Colts have been very good. Almost, as you said, almost got the win against
in LA.
Against the Rams in LA, which would have been really, really impressive.
Yeah.
But now the Colts coming off a loss, maybe even a little more difficult to deal with for the Raiders as they go there. I think a couple things that we should point out from this game. We can talk about the field goal in a second, exactly what happened on that play.
Talk about that.
It's so interesting with Max Crosby, who had just an unbelievable first half. I mean, pretty good game
Tremendous
in general,
game.
but an unbelievable first half, as good as anybody can play. You almost just expect it. Like it's almost like, yeah, it's just what Max Crosby
We see it
does.
in practice all the time in training camp. That's the what you saw in the first half here is, you know, you always see you see, you know, he's on full throttle all the time. But there are practices that Adam and I have seen Max just take over. And it's really frustrating for the offense because he plays everything like it's the Super Bowl. And he just was. I mean, look, there were 3 turnovers in the first half, and the Raiders were able to hold, basically because of Max Crosby, they were able to hold the Bears to just 9 points, 3 field goals. Think about that for a second, and all of them were within the 24-yard line of the Raiders. They ended up so the Bears started with 24 and closer on the Raiders' end of things, and yet just 3 field goals thanks to Max Crosby just wreaking havoc.
I believe it was 3 tackles for loss, 2 passes defense, and an interception in the same half. First time since those stats have been tracked. I think 2008 was when it started. No player had ever done that in a half, and Max Crosby did it today. And he got his first career interception, which is kind of surprising that he
on his own tip
before, but he deflected the ball, knocked it in the air, caught it himself, and it's something we see him work on over and over again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of surprising it hasn't happened in a game. We've seen it happen so many times in practice. Happened today. In fact, I think.
By the way, he dropped back in coverage, right?
Well, I think he was rushing and then kind of just stepped back.
Yeah.
And knocked that down, knocked it in the air, caught it.
Because that's kind of what the theory is. I know a lot of fans, it drives them crazy. Why is Max dropping back in coverage? Well, that's kind of, I mean, even though he may have just kind of freelanced on that play, but just let's say that they did drop him back. What you're looking for there is the quarterback doesn't expect Max Crosby to be there. And we see Max all the time. He's long and lanky. And he's got long arms, too. He played basketball coming up. So he's a guy that can do exactly what he did, which is you drop back in coverage, and you hope that you kind of lull the quarterback to throw in that direction, and he can get up. He's got good vertical, tip it, and maybe tip it to himself, which is exactly what he did, or tip it to another team, or just knock it down. Right. So it's not, I know a lot of fans go crazy over that. There's some thought process behind it, and tonight, even though whether he freelanced or whether it was the actual call from Patrick Graham, it worked.
And another part of it is obviously offenses are completely scheming over to Max's side. They're game planning their entire protection scheme to just make sure Max doesn't harass the quarterback. And then if all of a sudden you're rotating everybody over there and so much focus on him and he's not even rushing, it's kind of throwing off the blocking scheme as well, allowing other people.
And no, he's not being asked to defend anybody one-on-one.
No.
It just drop into a zone, and if the quarterback throws around that, just think of a basketball player who could get his hands, on a tip of pass or whatever.
It's quite a wingspan you got there.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's definitely not Max Crosby's wingspan, but so that's the reason why,
just allowing him to wreak havoc in different ways, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think you have to point it out how good he was in long stretches tonight. And I think the Bears made some adjustments in the second half to make sure that he didn't continue to
there was a lot of attention being paid to 98.
But he still was able to have a big impact in the second half as well. So I want to make sure we don't take it for granted what he did today. No. Even though we're so used to seeing it, everybody's so used to seeing what Max Crosby does, it was still very impressive. And I guess that brings us to the ill-fated field goal at the end of the game, which was kind of set up as the game went on.
Yeah.
Should point out, we did a lot of research after the game, and credit to Raiders PR too for helping us through some of the numbers. But we were running some Daniel Carlson numbers in the final minute of games in kicks to tie or take the lead. Daniel Carlson before tonight was 7 of 7.
Yeah,
perfect 7 out of 7 in his career.
Probably would have been 8 for 8.
Yeah,
if not for. And this was tough, for Jonah Lalu, who is lined up. He's a defensive tackle, by the way, lined up as the wing blocker, out on the edge, basically, a little bit off of what would be the tackle, I guess, just for lack of a better way to describe it. Kind of angled to his right to ward off anybody that's coming off the edge, and he just doesn't get the job done. And I think Adam, saw him after the game, and he was pretty emotional about it.
Yeah, he wasn't happy. But we also should point out that yes, it's pretty glaring when you watch it was missed. If you watch the previous field goal attempt, which is the one we talked about earlier, where they went up 24-19,
right?
The Bears also got a huge jump on that play, and Jonah was just blown up back toward the kicker. It's maybe a bit of an exaggeration. He almost blocked the kick himself.
Yeah, with his backside.
Pushed back into Carlson on the previous play. And the Bears, talking after the game, said that they had noticed something in the way that the Raiders set up for the snap, the way Jacob Bobamore kind of rotates the ball, gets ready to snap it. They know when he's going to snap. He has a little bit of a tell there, and that they were able to time it. And you could see it on the previous field goal. They blew up Jonah by just perfectly timing the snap. They almost got there, and then on this play they were able to get there. So it was something that they had definitely scouted, something they were definitely ready for. They had tried at the previous field goal, didn't get there. That was a shorter kick. Now a longer kick, the operation slows down just a little bit, and they were able to get there. So you don't just blame, yes, Jonah was the one that's the glaring one on the film, but a lot of things go into that.
Yeah.
And if you notice, it's also the timing of the snap and how they read the snap. They were prepared for that play, and so that's something I'm sure the Raiders will now adjust to and try to figure
Which makes
out.
you wonder if Ben Johnson. No, they're not going to play the Raiders again. But I wonder if he wanted to keep that information in his hip pocket, not let the player who blocked it kind of explain, this is what we saw on film. We love it because it helps us, when we're doing our job. But you wonder, man, if we ever face the Raiders again, we want to make sure we, now the
would require being in the Super Bowl.
True,
but by on both sides of things.
Exactly, no doubt about it. But by letting everybody know that we saw this and specifically what they saw on film. Now, as Adam said, the Raiders are going to go try to fix that. But it does also offer a little bit of a window into how intricate these things really are and how deeply the scouting goes. And that's on advanced scouts who I'm sure, brought it to the players' attention, the coaching staff's attention, who brought it to the players' attention, all the way down to, who was it? It was Justin, the guy that blocked it. It was a backup cornerback for the Chicago Bears. Josh Blackwell, who said, I had seen it. I got close on the previous one.
We went back and looked and watched, and they got very close on the previous.
And so he was like, I'm literally gonna time this snap up, and I'm gonna go get it. And credit to him, because not only does he beat Jonah on the to the point of attack and get past him, he literally dives like Superman, and just gets enough of a hand on the ball. And it's like Pete Carroll said, I think this was his quote. Since the field goal was invented, you have to block the guy out on the edge, and they did not block the guy out on the edge. And it's just a simple thing like that that cost the Raiders the game.
Yeah.
Despite all the other problems, if they just execute that play, they win the game, and they couldn't do that because, as it turns out, the Bears were hot on their trail in terms of what they do operationally on the field goal.
As you said, Daniel Carlson, 7 out of 7 in those situations.
Exactly.
Leading up to this game in his career, and doesn't get the chance to make it 8 out of 8. And I did talk to him after the game. He said felt like he hit it well.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no way of knowing whether it was going in, but usually a kicker knows, like when they kick it, how it went. And he said felt like he kicked it well. Obviously, he said have to look at the operation, make sure everything was normal on that end. But get a free rusher, and they're able to make that block and ends the game that way. Although, again, the Bears still would have had time because the Raiders weren't able to run the clock all the way down. So the Bears would have had time to try to come down, but at least the Raiders could have had the lead in the final 33
and knowing
seconds.
the Raiders' luck, maybe that would have set the stage for an even more demoralizing loss. But anyway, a bad night for the Raiders tonight. In spite of the fact that there really was some good, we'd be remiss not to point that out, and maybe something to build on moving forward. But first and foremost, and Geno Smith, summed it up. He's got to be better, and I think he actually said, "And darn it, I'm going to be better," and literally that he believes that he's going to be a better player. And he apologized to everybody, and he's like, "Look, the player that I am has not shown up yet." That's for sure, and we'll see how he responds because it doesn't get any easier, as Adam and I talked about. The Colts coming up in Indianapolis next Sunday. I don't know what to say, Raider fans. Try to put this one behind you, like the team is going to put it behind you. There's a big game coming up on Sunday. Want to say thank you for all your support. Want to say thanks for all the subscriptions. The numbers are going through the roof, all their viewership. We truly appreciate it. Go over to VegasNation.com. Get your 3 months for 25 cents over at Vegas Nation, mylvrj.com /nation to go get your next 3 months of a Vegas Nation digital subscription for 25 cents. Keep hitting the like button. Keep spreading the word around. We really appreciate it. I want to say thanks to Heidi Fang and Dom Lavoie, who they do a great job behind the scenes. We truly appreciate it. I want to say thanks to the Las Vegas Review Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports. We will be back with you guys on Wednesday.